Welcome, welcome, welcome. I would like to welcome you to another episode of the Unpopular Podcast. This is the man, the myth, the legend, Jalen Hunter. And if you do me a favor, please subscribe to the YouTube channel. I'm trying to reach 1,000 subscribers, so anything will help. But here's where we'll start. So we are down to the end of my divisional breakdown. I've gone through every division in the NFL, and this will be the last one, which is the NFC West. And the NFC West is the most interesting to me. It's the most interesting because this could very well be the best division in football. At the end of the breakdown, I'm going to rank all the divisions from the best or from the worst to the best. But let's talk about the NFC West right now. The NFC West consists of the Rams, Seattle, 49ers, and the Cardinals. All of these teams have a path or an avenue that could get them deep in the playoffs. Some of these teams could win it all. And that's what's so interesting about this division. This division doesn't really have a slouch. If you look at almost every division, they have one team that actually has absolutely no shot, in my opinion, to win it all. Like there's at least one team in every division that's like, yeah. I mean, it's this is them. This division doesn't have one, and that's the interesting thing. Let's start with the 49ers. To me, the 49ers is the most interesting team in the NFC West because they don't really you don't want to go into a season not really knowing what you're doing at the quarterback position. Now, not saying that they don't have options. Of course, you have Jimmy G and you have Trey Lance, but they don't really know what they're doing at the quarterback position. If you look at this roster from top to bottom, just a couple years ago they went to the Super Bowl. I mean, you have Trent Williams, you have Deebo Samuels, you have Raheem Mostert, you have Nick Bosa, D Ford, Brandon Ayuk, Fred Warner, who is one of the best defensive players in the league. This team is stacked. This team is, and that's why I think the 49ers are so interesting. They're so interesting because this is a Super Bowl team. Hell, they went to the Super Bowl, 2 years ago? The problem is you don't know what you're going to get. You can't see. The reason why they're in a quarterback battle is because you have either Trey Lance, like I said, out of North Dakota State, and you have Jimmy G. You know pretty much what you're going to get out of Jimmy G. Jimmy G is good. He's a serviceable quarterback. He's a quarterback that he's gonna throw it up there. He's going to throw it up there at least once or twice in a game, and either the wide receiver is going to get it or the defensive player is going to get it. He's gonna gamble like that. And the thing that I think frustrates Kyle Shanahan, who is the coach of the 49ers, so much is he knows he's one of the best young coaches in the league, and he knows how good and how talented this team is. And the fact that Jimmy G, we've seen his ceiling pretty much. I think we've seen his ceiling. And I believe that Kyle Shanahan and the 49ers in general, they question if his ceiling is, like, if he can really get you to, here's the thing. Even in the Super Bowl, right? In the Super Bowl, I think the Super Bowl was the most telling thing about Jimmy G. They got to the Super Bowl, they were up big. And, of course, Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs chipped away. And the 49ers had a chance to win this game. And I think the play that signifies Jimmy G in totality is the pass, the overthrow that he had Emmanuel Sanders wide open. If he would have hit Emmanuel Sanders perfectly, Emmanuel Sanders would have walked in for a touchdown. The 49ers would be Super Bowl champions. And I think that's it. That right there is a microcosm of Jimmy G. Jimmy G is a really good. His highs are so high. We remember, like I said, the game against the Super Bowl, or getting to the Super Bowl. We remember the game where he helped the 49ers just run all up and down the Packers in the NFC Championship. We remember the game, the incredible game against Seattle. Jimmy G has his moments of brilliance. But too many times he has those very few moments that can win you or lose you a game. And I think with a roster this talented, you don't want to waste it. I mean, like I said, you don't want to waste Nick Bosa. You don't want to waste Trent Williams, who's one of the better, actually one of the best offensive linemen in the league. Fred Warner, who is one of the best young defensive players. Nick Bosa, like I said, who's one of the best young defensive players. You don't want to waste this talent. And this is a talented roster. Again, it goes back to when I was talking about the Bears. If you throw Deshaun Watson, if you throw Aaron Rodgers, if you throw Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, that is a Super Bowl caliber roster. Same thing with in fact, the 49ers is a better roster than the Chicago Bears. It's just they don't know what they're going to get out of Jimmy G. And the reason why there's actually a really quarterback battle is honestly because Trey Lance is not ready. Trey Lance is good. Trey Lance is a really good player, but he's not ready to start. In fact, most of the rookies are not really ready to start because you can't really simulate a real game in the preseason because not all, most of the stars aren't playing. But Trey Lance is not ready. And Trey Lance, while he's had some incredible moments, just like almost every single rookie in this, like rookie quarterback from, Trey Lance, like I said, to Justin Fields, to Zach Wilson, to Trevor Lawrence, to Mac Jones. They've all had their moments. But none of them really look like they're ready to take a team over the top. Of course, Zach Wilson has looked incredible this entire preseason. Trevor Lawrence has looked incredible, especially going against the Cowboys' fourth stringers. But none of them look ready to really make that step. And the thing that I think Shannon Sharp said is it's easy to go from vet to the rookie. I mean, that's expected. That's what it's supposed to be. It's almost impossible to go from the rookie to the vet. And I think that's one reason why Cam Newton, that's not the biggest reason, but I think that's one reason why Cam Newton's not on the Patriots anymore. It's kind of hard saying, all right, we're going to go with Mac Jones, and then you have an MVP sitting, or former MVP sitting, waiting for his turn. Like it's hard. And then it's hard to sell a vet, especially a vet that's been at the heights that Jimmy G has. Like I said, he's been to a Super Bowl. So the last thing you want to do is say, all right, we're going to bench Jimmy G and we're going to put in Trey Lance. Because at that point, you're pretty much losing Jimmy G. Jimmy G is done. He's never going to be, because again, it's a psychological thing. You lost your spot, a spot that you thought you had. You lost it to a rookie who, to be honest, is not ready. I mean, again, the 49ers is a Super Bowl caliber team, and you need to get this right. It's a Super Bowl caliber roster. You have a Super Bowl caliber coach. It's just you need to get that quarterback position right, and that's what we're gonna, we're gonna see this play out all season, because we saw Kyle Shanahan say that they're probably gonna do a couple packages where half the game you're gonna have Jimmy G, some of the plays you're gonna have Trey Lance. I don't think it's gonna work. I understand that they have a similar skill set, but there's never been a team in the history of the NFL where they were able to successfully trot out two quarterbacks like that was their game plan, and it was successful. That has never been the case. So I don't know what's happening. I don't know what they're going to do, but I do think that they need to get this right, because if you look at this roster, like I said, and I've been saying, you do not want to waste this roster. You do not want to waste this talent, and you want to get it right. I don't think, again, Trey Lance is ready right now. I don't think he's ready, but I do think that Jimmy G knows that his days are numbered there. So what I would do is I would play him until Trey Lance is ready, and then move on from Jimmy G. But they have to figure out what they're going to do. And I think that's interesting, because like I said, if you really look at just the roster, the 49ers is the best team in the NFC West, like just pure roster. And that's the 49ers really shows you how important getting the quarterback right is imperative. Like, again, this team is a Super Bowl caliber team. This team, if it had one of the top quarterbacks that we've been talking about, this team would be an easy Super Bowl contender. So they just need to get, I'm excited to see and interested to see what I kind of believe, and I kind of know that Jimmy G is going to be the quarterback, but I'm kind of interested to see around week 6 or week 7 what this team's going to look like. That's when, at that point, you kind of know what you're going to get out of your rookie quarterback, whether you're going to start him or not. And that's what because this division is so tough, you don't want to go, week 8, week 9, week 10, and still not know what you're going to do at the quarterback position, because with the talented roster that you have, that the NFC West has, you can get left. And this is not the year to get left. So, I'm excited. I'm interested to see, like I said, around week 6 and week 7, what really happens, or what's going to happen at the quarterback position for the 49ers. So I'm excited to see. Let's go to the Arizona Cardinals. The Arizona Cardinals had a very busy offseason. They lost Kenyon Drake. They did get J.J. Watt. Of course, they re-signed who they needed to re-sign. They had an interesting week. I mean, interesting offseason. And while I don't think that this team is Super Bowl caliber ready, I do think that this team is talented enough to make a deep playoff run if they make it to the playoffs. Again, Kyler Murray is one of the young, electrifying quarterbacks in the league. DeAndre Hopkins is arguably the best wide receiver in the game. Isaiah Simmons, he's like a Swiss Army knife on the defense. Christian Kirk has been great. Chandler Jones, Chase Edmonds. They got James Conner from free agency. So the thing about this team is, I think that the question still stands: is Cliff Kingsbury a good coach? And I asked that because he had a losing record in college before he got the position at the 49ers. With the Cardinals. And it's like, all right, you got a good roster. This is a really good roster. You have a talented young roster. And that's the thing that kind of differs between the Cardinals and the rest of the division. They have a really young roster. When you look at the quarterback, when you look at the best position players, most of them are young, outside of maybe Chandler Jones. But when you see a lot of younger teams, that's when coaching matters most. And I think we're gonna. The jury is still out if Cliff Kingsbury is a good coach. Again, and we saw there was a lot of times last year that he made some questionable calls, some questionable decisions as far as clock management, some questionable decisions as far as a play calling. Now you can chop that up to, all right, well, it was COVID. It is what it is. It was a weird season anyways. So I think that the notice is really going to be on him this season. The Cardinals as a whole, as an organization, as a team, is good enough to make a deep playoff run. Kyler Murray is one of the best young quarterbacks in the league. You can argue that he's top 10. He might be top 10. And with a top 10 quarterback, or arguably a top 10 quarterback, it's really unless you just have a team that's just god awful. There's no excuse not to make the playoffs, especially with this roster. Again, you have some of the best young talent in the league. So it's like, at this point now, you're going to see, is the coach really, is he really a good coach? And again, we kind of feel, you saw the game last year against the Seattle Seahawks. Like, they can play. I'm not going to forget about Budda Baker, who's one of the best defensive players in the league. Like, this core is very, very well. Now, let me say this. Their weak spot is their defense. They have some old players. Like I said, J.J. Watt, Chandler Jones is kind of getting up there in age. But they haven't, like I said, Buda Baker is still really good. It's just D Ford straight. It's just not D Ford. Buda Baker and Chandler Jones, but it's like that has been their weakness. Their weakness has been one. While Kyler Murray is a really good player, he does make some questionable decisions, and while he does have a lot of touchdowns, his interceptions is pretty high. But he is, I guess, a quote unquote gunslinger, so he's just gonna let it fly. And when you have, Christian Kirk and DeAndre Hopkins catching the ball, of course you're gonna let it fly. But their defense really held them back last year. They were in a lot of shootouts because of their defense, especially the back end of their defense, like the corners and safeties outside of Buda Baker. It was really tough. So, I don't think that they are good enough to win a Super Bowl, but I do think that they could be a dark horse team. I do think that they're good enough to make a deep playoff run. They're good enough. I wouldn't be surprised if they don't have the best quarterback in the division. I wouldn't be surprised if they made it to an NFC Championship. I'm not saying they will, but I'm just saying that's how good the Cardinals can be. I think that, like I said, we're really gonna know and see and realize if Cliff Kingsbury is actually a really good coach or not. So I think that's the Cardinals. Let's go with Seattle, man. Seattle frustrates me, and Seattle frustrates me for a litany of reasons. They frustrate me, one, because it's kind of like the Portland Trailblazers. I know I talked about them last episode, but it's kind of like the Portland Trailblazers. You have a transcendent talent on your roster, whether it's Damian Lillard or it's Russell Wilson. You have some nice pieces. CJ McCollum, Enes Kanter, DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett. But the problems still remain. And the problems that Portland has always faced, they're facing today. They're unable to get a real talented roster or a roster that's good enough to compete for a championship around Damian Lillard, around their centerpiece, around their star. Russell Wilson is inarguably one of the best quarterbacks in the league. Russell Wilson, if you had a chart, right? And you sprinkled all the quarterback names and you were starting a team from scratch. And you had the first pick. You'll probably go with, and we're talking about today, not their entire careers, but you'll probably go Patrick Mahomes number 1. But then who would you go number 2? And a lot of people would take Russell Wilson. Because that's just how good he is. He's reliable. He has a cannon of an arm. He is a mobile he's one of the best, if not the best quarterback in the league. But the things that have plagued the Seattle Seahawks probably ever since the Legion of Boom was dismantled is the same problems that they have. While yes, you have Jamal Adams, which he did just sign an extension, and you have Bobby Wagner. Their defense still sucks. You lose Shaquille Griffin, you lose KJ Wright. Their defense is still horrible, but that's not the worst position, or that's not the worst place or worst spot on their team. Their offensive line last year was, I think, damn near last. One of the worst, if not the worst, offensive line in the league last year. And even now, they're having contract negotiations with Dwayne Brown. He is their best offensive lineman. And there's a reason why. There's been a lot of think pieces this year or this offseason about, is Seattle wasting Russell Wilson's prime, which is why there's a lot of think pieces about, is Portland wasting Damian Lillard's prime? It's not a coincidence that there was three quarterbacks that wanted out, said they wanted out, said they were willing to be traded. There was three. There was Deshaun Watson, who hasn't come up off his I want out of Houston. He hasn't, even though he's still there, he hasn't come up off that. Aaron Rodgers, they brought him back. However, he restructured his deal so that next year he'll be a free agent. He's more than likely gone. And Russell Wilson. Now, Russell Wilson didn't ultimately say, "Yo, I want out of Seattle," but he did voice his frustration that you're not able to get the talent on the offensive line around me. He also was upset with the fact that there's been a lot of moves that have been made, and while he's not asking, and the same thing Aaron Rodgers, he's not asking for, all the team's transitions that go through him. But when you're dealing with an offensive line, and Russell Wilson is the most sacked quarterback since he's been in the league by a country mile, you're gonna want some say, because this is your career, this is your body. And while yes, you were able to keep and sign Jamal Adams to an extension, who's one of the best safeties in the league. You're able to keep Bobby Wagner. We know, probably I think the only player from the Legion of Boom at this point, and still, a serviceable, really good defensive player. The reason why I don't think, and the reason why a lot of people don't have, Seattle was good enough with the pieces that they have. Like I said, DK is incredible. Tyler Lockett is incredible. They have a really strong running game, and Chris Carson, when he's healthy. They have Russell Wilson. They have a really good coach in Pete Carroll. The reason why it's hard for a lot of people, including myself, to put them in a Super Bowl, like, Russell Wilson is good enough. Of course, he's been to 2 Super Bowls. He's won 1, lost 1. But he's good enough to be in a Super Bowl, or be a Super Bowl perennial Super Bowl contender. And that's a lot of people would say Seattle is. It's just their offensive line and their defense is so bad. Okay, their offensive line is so bad that it hinders really any shot they have. And that's what happened last year. There was the whole let Russ cook campaign, because Seattle, they're traditional in running the ball. And when you have a transcendent talent like Russell Wilson, it's like, bro, give him the ball, let him cook. And they were doing a thing. They were being incredible. It was like he was the clear-cut MVP halfway through the season. But the problem is the offensive line started deteriorating. Even at full strength, they're garbage. So the fact that they started deteriorating, the running back starting to get injured, and Russell Wilson started to have to overperform and started to have to put the complete team on his back, because the defense wasn't good enough to win games. And that's why you saw, I think he had a career high in turnovers last year. So Russell Wilson at his best is arguably the best quarterback in the league. However, it's just you're only and football is really the main sport that you see this in. You're only as good as your team, as your next best player. You're only as good as your teammate. Russell Wilson, hell, we saw that in the Super Bowl. Patrick Mahomes is a transcendent talent. You have transcendent talented pieces on your team on the offensive side. You have Tyreek Hill. You have Travis Kelce. And you saw when Patrick Mahomes' offensive line was, Eric Fisher was out. Another offensive lineman was out. And when you saw just how bad that offensive line looked and how ferocious the the Bucs defense was coming at the team. Hell, I think they said that Patrick Mahomes ran for like 500 yards behind the line of scrimmage. Like, that's how much he was running for his life. And we saw how bad that team looked when their offensive line was out. Even though a lot of the incompletions that Patrick Mahomes had should have been caught, the team just looked bad. And Patrick Mahomes looked, pretty much mortal, I guess you can say. And that's the same thing that we see with Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson, there's a reason why he is one of the best mobile quarterbacks, because he has to be, because the offensive line cannot protect him. There's a reason why the whole "Let Russ Cook" anthem kind of died down last year, because the offensive line deteriorated and the running game deteriorated because Chris Carson got hurt and everything. And in fact, I think almost all of their running backs got hurt. I think they had to bring back Marshawn Lynch or something like that. Like, that's just how bad it got for Seattle. And while Russell Wilson is still good enough to be an MVP, or he is good enough to be an MVP quarterback, even though he's not MVP or he hasn't won an MVP, he's good enough to get them to the Super Bowl. Is really there's the quarterback position and the wide receiving position. Even though DK drops a lot more passes for my liking, it's really gonna be on the offensive line. If that offensive line can stand pat and be better than last year, then yes, this team should be the best team in the division. But it's like, it's kind of like, again, we talked about last episode, it's kind of like the definition of insanity. It's like, this offensive line has not been good for a while. So it's like, why would I expect them to change, especially when their best offensive line may or may not be there? So, because he's in contract negotiations. So we'll just have to see with that, man. And lastly, you have the Rams. The Rams had the busiest offseason as far as they traded their quarterback. They traded Jared Goff, the quarterback that helped them get to the Super Bowl. They lost the Super Bowl, but they helped them get to the Super Bowl. They traded him for Matthew Stafford. Now, we had an episode about this when it first happened. Matthew Stafford is one of those hidden gems or worst kept secret in the league, and that's only because he's been playing for the god-awful Detroit Lions. Now, Detroit Lions, there's a reason why people say their Super Bowl is Thanksgiving, because they have absolutely no shot to win the Super Bowl. But Matthew Stafford, he has shattered almost every quarterback record there is in Detroit. Matthew Stafford's good. Matthew Stafford, I think the question is, how good is Matthew Stafford? Because this is by far the best roster he's ever had. This is the best offensive line he's ever had. Outside of having Megatron, which is the best player he's ever played with, this is the best wide receiving core. You have Cooper Kupp, you have Robert Wood. This is an incredible team. It's really with the Rams, man. It's really you're really about to see just how good Matthew Stafford is. And I think that they're banking on him to be a top 10 quarterback, because he has the talent to be a top 10 quarterback. It's just, it's kind of like Sam Darnold, but we know how good Matthew Stafford is. Sam Darnold, we're waiting to see, was he a product of New York, the Jets, not really having offensive line, not really having any offensive pieces, or was he just that bad? We know Matthew Stafford's good, but he isn't used to winning. He's not used to making that winning play. The last time he was on a winning team really was Georgia, when he was at college. So it's like, when you're not used to winning, can he win in the big moments? That's what they're going to see. And that's what they need from him. They need to know, can he win in the big moments? Because you have Jalen Ramsey, who's one of the best defensive players in the league. You have Aaron Donald, who is the best. There's no argument. Even though TJ Watt had an incredible year, even though there's no question who the best defensive player is in the league, and that is Aaron Donald. And a lot of people are saying there's really no question who the best cornerback is in the league, and that is Jalen Ramsey. So you have an incredible defense. Your defense is great. And you have an incredible coach. You have Sean McVay, one of the best young coaches in the league. It's just now we're really about to see if Matthew Stafford can make the big plays. And that's what they're hoping for. I mean, you don't give up Jared Goff. And don't get me wrong, Jared Goff wasn't like a world beater. He wasn't the greatest quarterback, but he wasn't the worst quarterback. Jared Goff just was. It's kind of like Jimmy G, just to a bigger extent. He was serviceable until he wasn't, and when he wasn't, he was costing the team games with poor throws, high interceptions. Like, nah. And quiet as is kept, while he did help them get to a Super Bowl, it was mainly because of that. That's their defense was incredible. They also had, Everson. They had Ndamukong Suh, of course, Aaron Donald. Like Jared Goff was good, but Jared Goff was kind of exposed in the Super Bowl against the Patriots. So we're really gonna see what Matthew Stafford is made of. Also, I think a lot of something that's not being talked about a lot is the injury to Cam Akers, which is their running back, out for the season. He was very important for this team, even though you do have a deep wide receiver core. You do have an incredible defense. Matthew Stafford, you don't want him to just throw 100% of the time. And I know they got Sonny Michel from the Patriots. He's going to be, their pretty much primary back. But Cam Akers was a very important piece, very important cog to this offense and to this team. And that's going to be a huge loss. That's why I'm a little skeptical of putting the Rams at the number one spot in the NFC West. I'll tell you who I think is the number one spot, and it could still be them. I'm just saying that is a cause for concern, because Cam Akers, even though it's like Cam Akers, that's not Derrick Henry, that's not Aaron Jones, that's not Dalvin Cook. Like, I know, but Cam Akers is still incredibly important to this team, and the fact that they lost him for the season is going to be big, and I think it's going to be felt, especially late in games, or those games where Matthew, you're playing against a really good passing defense, like you're playing against someone like Budda Baker or something like that. So, with that being said, the NFC West is the hardest division to rank as far as who is the worst and who is the best. I'm gonna say the Cardinals is the worst in this division. Not saying that they're bad, but when we look at the talent with the Cardinals, it's a lot of youth, and I think the Cardinals, in fact, the Cardinals is the only team in this division where there's a question mark when we're talking about their coach. Is Cliff Kingsbury a good coach? That is the question mark. And how is their defense going to fare up? Because their defense really cost them a lot of games last year, and some of the late game situations cost them. But is their defense good enough, and can their defense hold long enough and hold in the right spots to win them games? And are they good? They're probably the only. In fact, they are the only team in this division that has questions at the coaching position. So I have the Cardinals as probably the last place team in this division. And that's tough, man. It's okay. So here's the dilemma I have. On paper, the 49ers is the best division in this. The best team in this division. Hands down. They have the best defense and the best offense in this division. But the question mark that I still have with them is their quarterback position. Who's going to start? Is it going to be Jimmy G? Is it going to be Trey Lance? And these players can really hold back this team. Not saying that they're just garbage, but the the quarterback position makes or breaks even though the 49ers is a stacked team, it makes or breaks them. Then it goes with the Seattle. It's like you have the best quarterback in the division by a long shot, but you also have the worst offensive line in this division by a long shot. So it's like, what are you getting out of Seattle? Are you going to get, Russell Wilson's going to do what he does. DK Metcalf's going to do what he does. Tyler Lockett is going to do what he does. Hopefully you can keep Chris Carson healthy, but when Chris Carson is healthy, he is a really good running back. You know what they're going to do. You know what Jamal Adams is going to do. You know what Bobby Wagner is going to do, but the defense as a whole is not good, and their offensive line is god-awful. So it's like, in the Rams have some incredible pieces. You probably have arguably the best cornerback in the league in Jalen Ramsey, and you have undoubtedly the best defensive player in general in Aaron Donald. But it's like that Cam Akers injury is big, and we still don't know. Matthew Stafford hasn't really been on a team that has any expectations of winning since Georgia, and he didn't win that. He didn't even. Matthew Stafford is such a really good quarterback, which he is. And this isn't a shot. This is just truth. He was clearly the best quarterback in the SEC when he was at Georgia, and they still didn't win the SEC. So it's like, so what I'm going to do is, I'm going to say Seattle. Yes, I understand Russell Wilson's good, but that offensive line, and you saw last year, this team really only goes as far as the offensive line takes them. Now, Russell Wilson can get you to the water, but again, it's like that offensive line is tough. So, oh man, I'm gonna put Seattle. I'm gonna put Seattle as the third best team in this division for right now. Now, Ken, this can of course change, and that really shows you how deep this division is. I mean, you have a team like Seattle who's been to 2 Super Bowls, who has an incredible coach in Pete Carroll, who has Russell Wilson, and I have them third in the division. I'm gonna go with the Rams. I'm gonna go with the Rams second. I know, like, what, the 49ers? I'm going to go with the Rams second because I still want to see what Matthew Stafford looks like in big games and games where he's expected to win. Because on paper, this is an incredible roster. It's deep. It's extremely deep. It's just, again, how does Matthew Stafford fare when the expectation is for you to win? And the reason why I have the 49ers at number 1 is because they have the best roster. Now, this can definitely change because you don't know, the quarterback position. This team is really going to swing on how good their quarterback play is because you have an incredible offensive lineman. You have an incredible defense. You have a ferocious defense. It's just, how good is Jimmy G going to be, or how good is Trey Lance going to be? And I think that this team is good enough to win games even if their quarterback position is poor because of how good their defense is. But I don't think that they're good enough to win Super Bowls. And I don't think any team is good enough to win Super Bowls if you don't have good quarterback play. So I know it's crazy, but I have the 49ers, the Rams, the Seahawks, and the Cardinals as far as the rankings for the NFC West. So with that being said, I've already ranked all the divisions. What is my rankings of the divisions? Who do I think is the best division? Who I think is the worst division? The thing is, and again, we just went over all the divisions, so you can go back to past episode and listen to see how I feel about your favorite division. But each division is different, and of course, but each division has different storylines. Each division has different plots, and I think that is very interesting to see, how this plays out. But like I said, I'm going to rank every division from worst to best. Let's start with the worst. And in my opinion, the worst is the NFC South. Ooh, man, when you have the Houston Texans who don't, you have Tyrod Taylor, but their offense, their team is god awful. It's hard for me to see 3 wins on this team. And then of course you have the whole Deshaun Watson thing lingering over him. And then you have the Jaguars. While you have Trevor Lawrence, that is probably the worst roster. Those two teams probably have the worst roster in the NFL, like the Texans and the Jaguars. And the Colts, the Colts is a really good roster, really good defense. And but they're questionable of what they're going to be, or how is Carson Wentz going to be? Are you going to get the MVP Carson Wentz, or are you going to get the Carson Wentz we've seen since he wasn't MVP anymore? So, I just think those two, the Houston Texans and the Jaguars, brings that division down so much because of how bad their roster is. Now, yes, I understand, again, Trevor Lawrence, but Trevor Lawrence to me is not ready to be an impactful NFL player yet. So I have the NFC South or the AFC South as the worst team or worst division. Next, I have the NFC East. I have the NFC East because, last year, not one, and I understand that it's just last year, but last year, not one team was over 500. The team that won it, which is the Washington football team, was 7-9. And while, yes, the reason why I have them above the AFC South is because there's really good units in this division. The Washington defense is an incredible unit. The New York Giants receiving core and running back position, when Saquon Barkley gets back, or barring that he's healthy, is incredible. The wide receiver core for Dallas is incredible. The Eagles is just the Eagles. But there's talent there. It's just each team does still have questions, but there's a lot of talent in the NFC East. It's just, again, you're coming off a season where not one team got over 500. So, but again, Washington probably has the best defensive front in football. The Dallas Cowboys or the Giants, they could have a top tier wide receiver core. When you talk about Darius Slayton, Sterling Shepard, Kenny Galloway. For Dallas, you have CeeDee Lamb, Amari Cooper. It's a talented team. So I have, for number 7, I guess, I have the NFC East. For number 6, I have the NFC North. Now, the NFC North has Aaron Rodgers in it. Yes, I understand. And it has the Bears. I get that. Outside of that, but this division is really, when you look at the success, I don't think the Bears have really been good since they went to that one Super Bowl. They're talented. They have a talented roster, but nobody really expects them to do anything in the playoffs, or they haven't really been expected to do anything in the playoffs. And I think the NFC South has really been run by the Green Bay Packers for a while. Again, you have the MVP there in Aaron Rodgers. You have arguably one of the best, if not the best, wide receiver in Devontae Adams. 2 years in a row they went to the AFC champion or NFC Championship. It's this division is, the Detroit Lions is god awful. The Vikings can't get their defense right, or the quarterback right at that. You have Justin Jefferson, you have Adam Thielen, you have Dalvin Cook. You just can't get. You had Stephon Diggs, and because the quarterback position was so inconsistent, he wanted to leave, and now you see what he's doing in Buffalo. So and of course the Bears, talented Super Bowl caliber roster. In my opinion, it's just, what are they going to do with the quarterback position? And is Matt Nagy a really good coach? Or his time or reign really much or pretty much over for the Bears? So this division has really been picked up and carried by Green Bay. So that's why I have the NFC North at 6. At 5, I have the AFC East. Now, the AFC East is interesting because this is the first time, it's probably since, it's not the first time, but it's different. This is probably in fact, I will say this. This is the first time there's no expectations, and I mean absolutely no expectations, in my opinion, that the New England Patriots can win this division. Now, the New England Patriots have an interesting team. They got John Doe Smith. They got Hunter Henry. You still have Stephon Gilmore, except he's going to be on the PUP list until week 6. you have some talented pieces, but right now this division, it is an interesting division. Zach Wilson for the Jets, even though the Jets are god awful, as far as a whole. So I feel bad for Zach Wilson. He's gonna not really see what Sam Darnold's been facing. But you still have the Patriots, still an incredible defense. You have the Dolphins, an incredible team. It's just we don't know about Tua yet. And then the Bills. The Bills made it to the AFC Championship last year. The Bills, I mean, you have Stephon Diggs. You have Josh Allen, who finished in the top 3 or 4 I believe, in MVP voting. So it's a new age for this division. Of course, we know about the historic run that Tom Brady, Bill Belichick, and the Patriots had, and now I'm not gonna say that the Bills is gonna duplicate that run, but this is the Bills' division to win, and I don't see this division. I don't see really anybody else going against the Bills for a while now. If Josh Allen continues to play the way that he's been playing. But they do have some, like I said, the Miami, they're interesting and they're really good. Patriots still interesting. You still have Bill Belichick, who's arguably, well, not really, he's the best coach of all time as far as football. I think you have the Jets. So that's why I have the AFC East at number 5. At number 4, I have the NFC South. Now, I have them at number 4, and it's crazy to think that you have the NFC South at number 4, in my opinion, because the NFC South, just think a couple years ago, man, you have Matt Ryan and the Falcons. They made it to the Super Bowl. You had Cam Newton in the Panthers. They made it to the Super Bowl. You had Jameis Winston in the Bucks. While Jameis Winston was throwing 30 interceptions, he was also throwing 30 touchdowns. And then you had the cream of the crop, which was the Saints. Now, if you look today, the Bucks is the best team as far as overall team, probably in the league. You have Sam Darnold. You don't really know what even though you have DJ Moore, you have Robbie Anderson, you have Christian McCaffrey. You don't really know what you're going to get out the Panthers. I don't understand the Atlanta Falcons. They have so much talent on the offensive side of the ball, but their defense is god awful, and you don't really know what you're going to get from Matt Ryan. Jameis Winston is now the starting quarterback for the Saints, and I guess we're gonna see the whole Drew Brees era is definitely over. So we're gonna see what it looks like without Drew Brees as the lead man, and of course you have Tom Brady. So it's just a lot of question marks outside of the top team for the NFC South. That's why I have the number 4. At number 3, I have the AFC West. Now, the AFC West. Yeah, Patrick Mahomes. The AFC West it's really 2 teams, but they're too well. The AFC West has, to me, the one arguably the best team in the league is the Kansas City Chiefs. You have Patrick Mahomes. You have Andy Reid, coach. It's an incredible team. Team that's been to 2 straight Super Bowls, won 1, lost 1. It's the Chiefs. You have the Chargers, who arguably have one of the best young quarterbacks in Justin Herbert. You have Keenan Allen. You have Austin Eckler. That's the team right there. And of course, now they have a new coach. You want to see how they did really good in the draft with Rashawn Slater. It's a good team. It's a really good team. Hopefully Mike Williams is able to stay healthy. This is a good team, as in the Chargers. The Raiders, I don't know what the hell the Raiders are doing, but you still have some really good pieces. You still have Darren Waller, Carr. You still have Josh Jacobs. Now you have Kenyon Drake. You have Abrams in the backfield. It's a good team, And the same thing as the Broncos. You have Teddy Bridgewater starting as quarterback now, but you still have Judy. You have Cortland Sutton. He just needs to get back from injury. Melvin Gordon as a running back. So this is a talented team. The only reason really why I have them at 3rd is because you have Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs. And you also have Justin Herbert and the Chargers. That's why I have them at 3, honestly. At 2, I have the AFC North. The reason why I have them at 2 is because of the Cincinnati Bengals. If the Cincinnati Bengals was not in this division would be the best division in football, and it wouldn't even be close in my opinion. But I will say that there is some interesting storylines, some interesting pieces that the Cincinnati Bengals hold. I mean, you have Jamar Chase, even though he struggled mightily in the preseason catching the ball and stuff. Jamar Chase is a top pick in the draft. You still have Joe Burrow, and of course they have that connection from LSU. They have Joe Mixon. You have Boyd. You have you have Higgins. Like, they have a lot of pieces. It's just the thing that I think they should have focused on. Like, I would have, even though Jamar Chase is big time in box office, I would have went with an offensive lineman, because the offensive line is a big reason why. Is a big reason why Joe Burrow got hurt last year. And you have Penei Sewell, who I thought was incredible would have been incredible for this team, but they didn't. But other than that, man, you have three teams that, let me say this, you have two teams that can definitely vie for the Super Bowl, which is, if you look just on paper, the Cleveland Browns and the Baltimore Ravens. Baker Mayfield, Lamar Jackson, that incredible offensive. The Browns probably have the best offensive line in the league, and you can have an argument that the Baltimore Ravens has one of the best defenses, if not the best defense in the league. You can also argue that the Pittsburgh Steelers have the best defense in the league. And then, of course, you have Juju Smith-Schuster, Claypool. You got some pieces, man. So, to me, if it wasn't for the Cincinnati Bengals, the AFC North would be the best division. And with that being said, to me, the best division is the NFC West. I mean, I just talked about them. You have Seattle, who I put third, and I feel bad doing that, but I put third in the division because of how bad that offensive line is. You have Seattle, and who's been to 2 Super Bowls and who has Russell Wilson. You have the Rams, to me, the best cornerback in the league, and Jalen Ramsey, the best defensive player, period, in the league, and Aaron Donald. Now you have Matthew Stafford, Robert Wood, Cooper Kupp. The injury to Cam Akers is huge, but you did get Sonny Michel. So you have the Arizona Cardinals. You have Christian Kirk, DeAndre Hopkins, Kyler Murray, JJ Watt, Chandler Jones. Like, you have pieces. And then, of course, to me, the best, arguably one of the best rosters in general in the NFL, and that's the 49ers. It's just, what are they going to do with their what are they going to do with the quarterback position? Is it going to be Jimmy G, or is it going to be Trey Lance? So from best to worst, I have the NFC West, AFC North, AFC West, NFC South, AFC East, NFC North, NFC East, and AFC South. If you don't agree with what my rankings, if you think one division should be over than another, let me know. Leave in the description. I love talking about it. And lastly, before we go, oh man, Ben Simmons. Ben Simmons has had quite the offseason, man. We understand the debacle that he had. I'm not gonna say debacle. We understand the fourth quarters he had in the playoffs against the Hawks, and that was a big reason why they lost. Now, a lot of people are only putting it on Ben Simmons, which is not the case. I mean, they were up double digits in most of those games and lost. But Ben Simmons was a big factor. When you're the starting point guard, or when you're the main point guard, when you're the main person that has the ball in the hands, you make most of the decisions, and they lost. And of course, you heard the team was trying to look for trades. They were looking to trade him before the draft. They were looking to trade him during the draft. And now reports have come out saying that he doesn't want to be with the team anymore. And he does not plan on reporting to camp. I've already said Ben Simmons. Ben Simmons is an incredible player. A lot of times we look at the negative and we just forget completely about the positive. You know, it's funny. Maybe a year ago or so, we were arguing if Ben Simmons is one of the corner, like the next best tier, once the KDs and Currys and LeBrons leave, is Ben Simmons going to be one of those players to take the mantle as like best player? And now people just can't stand Ben Simmons. Like, they hate the man. And I'll say this. One of the biggest reasons, or one of the biggest detriments, in my opinion, to Ben Simmons, of course we know, is the lack of shooting. He doesn't even have the willingness to shoot. But I think it's bigger than that. I think the worst part about Ben Simmons' game is you can't have the mindset, the offensive mindset that he has when you're talking about shooting, and be the main, especially in today's NBA, and be the main ball handler. When you look at almost every good team in the league, right? Every good team in the league, look at their starting point guard. They and most of them, when you let's look. You have the Golden State Warriors. You have Steph Curry. What does he have? Offensive minded. Portland Trailblazers, Damian Lillard, offensive minded. Brooklyn Nets, offensive minded. Dallas is pretty much Luka Doncic, offensive minded. The Phoenix Suns, Chris Paul, offensive minded. Like, when you look at some of the best players, they're off that have the ball majority in their hands. They're offensive players. Kyrie, like, but then you look at Ben Simmons. I think while Ben Simmons is an incredible player, just imagine what he would be without the ball. That's why I said that I think Portland would be a great spot for him. That's why I said I thought Golden State would be a great spot for him. I just don't think that he's in the position right now to just tell him, yo, I ain't coming back. Because you're really only as good as your last game, man. And and that kind of doesn't, like, you can have bad games in NBA, but when you're on the biggest stage as far as the playoffs and you do what Ben Simmons did, it didn't look good. So I think that probably because most teams know that Ben Simmons wants to leave, you're not going to get everything there. Like, they were asking, if you just look at the Golden State, I think they were asking for like Ben Simmons, not Ben Simmons. They were asking for Andrew Wiggins, Moody, Kuminga, and like 3 other first round picks, like, for Ben Simmons. What? So I don't think that. I think that because the asking price is so high, more than likely he's going to start the season with Philly. But of course, let's see what happens before All-Star break and before the trade deadline. I think if he plays his value up, or Philly lowers the price, I think he'll probably be gone by then. But I think that, and I've said this before, I thought that Ben Simmons playing alongside Joel Embiid, I thought that they had a ceiling with each other, and they can only go so far with each other. And I think that we saw just how far they could go, and that is the playoff. And I think that both players individually are incredible players, but I just don't think that they'll be incredible, or I don't think that they could play together because they occupy the same spot on the floor because Ben Simmons can't shoot. So we'll just see how that goes. So, and there you have it, man. That has been today's episode of the Unpopular Podcast. I appreciate you guys. If you want an Unpopular Podcast shirt, hoodie, sweatshirt, long sleeve, joggers, the link is in the description below. I have multiple designs, multiple colors, whatever you want, whatever you like, whatever color you like, I got you. Just click on the item. You'll see different colors. Pick your color, put it in the cart, buy that joint. You got merch. Go get your merch today. Also, again, please subscribe to the Unpopular Podcast YouTube channel. I'm trying to reach 1,000 subscribers, so anything will help. I keep pushing out content, 2 episodes a week. I'm enjoying it, so I would appreciate you guys. I love you guys, and until next time, much love.